Welcome to the Global Script, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Ocean News. I'm your host, Shafat Ali. So let's get to 160 knots and take off, because today we are going to discuss a person. A person who's almost like a whirlwind, and he's called Elon Musk, a man who has ambitions, who are touching the stars, literally. Controversies, they have sparked global outrages, global debates, and whose political influence is now raising eyebrows. He has a visionary, refining humanity future, or a polarizing figure wielding unchecked power. Let's explore that. Now, Elon Musk has been dreaming big, from colonizing Mars to revolutionizing transportation. His companies, Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, and the Boring Company, they aim to reshape how we live and move. SpaceX Starship could one day ferry humans to the Red Planet, while Tesla's electric vehicles are now autonomous taxis because they are driving people on their own and they are self-sustainable, self-driving. Neuralink seeks to merge human brains with AI, and the Boring Company wants to tunnel beneath the cities for the hyperfast transit. Now, these ventures have earned Elon Musk billions in the government contracts and a cult following, definitely. But his relentless pursuit of innovation, it has come at a cost, because the controversies Musk has been surrounded in, they are because of his bold vision, which is matched by his knack for controversy. His acquisition of Twitter, which is now X, stirred chaos with relaxed content moderation, leading to spikes in hate speech and misinformation. And he has been criticized for spreading unscientific claims, from COVID-19 misinformation to endorsing divisive rhetoric on race, gender, and immigration. A gesture at a Trump rally in 2025, imitated by some as Nazi salute. Now, that ignited a global backlash, but Musk's feud with regulators like FAA over SpaceX launches, and his public spats with the world leaders, including calling Scotland's former First Minister as the racist, I don't want to use the other word, but they have been fueling the fire. Now, critics argue that his actions reflect a dangerous blend of libertarian ideals and authoritarian tactics. Now, Musk companies are a powerhouse. Tesla dominates electric vehicles. X is dominating the narratives on digital media. It is now, as claimed by Elon Musk, is the #1 news app in the world. SpaceX is NASA's go-to for space missions, which is securing nearly $20 billion in federal contracts since 2008. Now, Starlink's satellite network is also expanding into surveillance, and xAI's Grok is pushing AI boundaries. Now, yet Musk's empire faces scrutiny. Federal investigation into Tesla's autopilot crashes, SpaceX environmental impact, they have been highlighting tensions with the regulators. Now, his businesses thrive on government support, yet Musk rails against bureaucracy. He has created a paradox that could shape his future influence. Now, Musk isn't just doing the business, he has a political journey ahead. His political journey is as audacious as his businesses. Once he was a swing voter, now he is a right-winger. He was the largest donor of the Donald Trump's 2024 election campaign, with over $250 million in backing Trump. Now, his role as the head of Department of the Government Efficiency, or DOGE, it gave him an unprecedented sway, slashing federal jobs regulations, and some people called it a hostile takeover. But recently, we saw a feud with Trump. That was sparked by disagreements over spending and subsidies, led to his DOGE exit in May 2025, and now Musk is floating a new America party to disrupt the two-party system, though it's yet to gain traction. Polls show that his popularity is tanking, with 55% of Americans viewing him unfavorably by the mid-2025. Now, can the world's richest man translate his wealth and platform into lasting political clout? Joining me live from United States is Ashley Fields, who's a staff writer at The Hill. Ashley, welcome to the show. Ashley, without much ado, let's get straight to the questions. Elon Musk and his feud with Donald Trump. We have seen them, having a bromance together. We have seen them walking together. We have seen them supporting each other, even especially, I mean, during the Donald Trump campaign, Elon was everywhere, and Elon was his biggest supporter. And then presidential lawns become like a showroom for the Teslas. And we have seen, Trump advocating and promoting Elon, and making him the head of the Dodge. That was all going well until the one big beautiful bill came into being, and everything else just plummeted after that. Do you think that this whole saga which they're having, this whole feud which they're having, do you think it's a genuine rift driven by something ideological, or maybe personal, or maybe economical differences, or do you think it's a stage spectacle?
Well, Musk responded to caveats in the big, beautiful bill that were rolled back electric vehicle credits. And so I think his upsetness or anger about that was definitely something that was genuine and authentic. However, I think the way that it played out on social media and so publicly was something that made people feel like it was a part of a media push to show separation between the two. But listen, I do think that they were, close friends, and they did break when it comes to the legislation known as the Big Beautiful Bill.
Well, that's a beautifully balanced answer. But okay, let's move forward. Elon owns X, and we are from Pakistan right now. We're doing this program from Pakistan, but in Pakistan, X was banned for quite a brief time. And during that, even then, people were using X as the only platform to propagate their narrative, to get the news from, and to get the first-hand insights about any incident. And also it becomes a platform for which has a global importance. It is as Elon claims that it is the biggest source of global news. It's the biggest news platform in the world. Do you think that this claim makes him a media mogul, or a sort of a Mr. Everything in global politics?
Well, when it comes to global politics, it's something that Musk weighs in on sparingly. We've seen this past year, he commented on elections in Germany. He's also been very active in American politics, but in other places, sometimes his comments are missing. Now, as you mentioned, X platform was banned in Pakistan. It was also briefly banned in Brazil. And so what you're starting to see is sort of this pressure from government leaders to ensure that the information being presented on the platform, the information being generated by Grok, which is powered by artificial intelligence, is accurate and does not promote hate speech. And I think you started to see some of his comments, some of his rhetoric and remarks be limited there. However, I don't know if I describe him yet as a media mogul, but we do refer to him as a tech giant, somebody who is very influential in that industry and sector.
And the reason I call him a media mogul, I mean, I use this phrase media mogul, is because X is the biggest medium in the world, the biggest news source in the world, as Elon claims. But he has also been using this platform himself, and he has a sense of humor which is a little bit provocative. He's a critique which is usually on policies. He has controversial takes on the subjects, and he has been trolling political figures, and he has been challenging legislation. Now, that's a lot of effort, and that's a lot of charisma to a personality. Do you think that this whole effort is calculated to maintain relevance, or control narratives, or to bolster his brand? What do you think?
I don't know that it's as much calculated as it is widely impactful, just because of who he is. He's a billionaire who got his claim to fame through Tesla, and then decided to purchase X, and became this really influential figure, especially on the 2024 campaign trail. And so what I can tell you is that as we continue to look towards 2026 elections, we know that Elon Musk has created the America Party, which is sort of this endorsement of the third party system in the country, with hopes to put candidates who he likes or who he favors into office. And so as we continue to see that moving forward, it's very much possible that his influence will continue to reign, not only in the political arena, but also in the arena of business, as he moves forward.
And that's since you have mentioned America Party, do you think that this America Party, which Elon Musk has founded, this will actually become the voice of the middle class, the neglected middle class, who have been working paycheck to paycheck and has got absolutely nothing to do with what's happening in the rest of the world? Do you think it is actually going to make a difference in their lives, in their political narratives, give them a voice using that platform? Or is it going to end up like Bernie Sanders? A lot of logic, a lot of talk, a lot of effort, a lot of sense, but no popular support.
It's a little too soon to tell, but what we do know is that Musk has been able to gain support from people, including former presidential candidate Andrew Yang, who said that he is on board with creating this America Party from the ground up. But as I speak with other political parties, third parties, they're saying that they're not just going to let Musk enter this realm without giving up everything that they fought for. And so there's a little bit of competition there. However, his money and his resources do give him an advantage over other third party systems that oftentimes don't have the resources to promote candidates like Musk does. So we just have to keep our eyes towards 2026 on that matter.
And we have seen many billionaires in USA. They've been going. They were once, quite celebrated, and the other day they went down. They had to go through the process of accountability. But despite SEC fines, despite labor lawsuits, despite market-moving tweets saga, despite there's a lot of other, workplace security and workplace practices malfunctioning. There's a lot of other things which were going on, and Elon Musk has avoided any consequences to all of that. What factors do you think has enabled him to sidestep this accountability?
Well, that's not entirely true. When you look to the Security and Exchange Commission, they've granted him an additional 6 weeks to respond to a claim that was filed over 3 years ago, where Musk was allegedly overtaking the Twitter platform, which is now known as X, without the proper paperwork being filed and without properly, informing shareholders. And so they've given him an additional 6 weeks to respond, but they've already decided in that complaint that Musk acted unethically. And so, it takes a long time for these sort of issues to play out. But when you look at some of the things that he's doing with SpaceX, specifically in communities like Memphis or other places where there's sort of this concern for environmental pollution, people do feel as if Musk is able to sort of get away with certain things. And that might be because he's so able to incorporate his efforts into entities that are backed by billionaires, backed by other business owners, and it does allow him a little bit of leeway and wiggle room. But people are pressing, not only in Memphis, but also from the SEC, past Twitter shareholders to hold him accountable, whether that be in court or in public opinion.
Thank you so much, Ashley. It's truly insightful, and we will keep you having again on our show. It's time for a quick break, ladies and gentlemen. Keep watching Ocean News. Welcome back to the Global Script, ladies and gentlemen, and now we dive into a major milestone. 6 months since Donald Trump has been in the Oval Office as the 47th President of the United States. From sweeping legislations to the global trade wars, it has been an absolute firestorm. Now let's break down the highs, lows, and everything in between. Here's what you need to know. January 20th, 2025, Donald Trump was sworn in, promising to make America great again with a bold agenda. 6 months later, his administration claims historic successes, but critics argue his policies are divisive and risky. So, what's the scorecard? Well, let's start with the wins Trump team is touting. On the White House points board, one big beautiful bill is the centerpiece of the Trump's first half year. Passed in July, this massive legislation delivered what Trump calls the largest tax cut in the US history, boosting take-home pay for some Americans by up to $13,300, according to the administration figures. Now, it has slashed $9 billion in what Trump labeled wasteful in federal spending, targeting programs like foreign aid and public broadcasting. Economically, the U.S. added 671,000 jobs since January, with the stock market hitting record highs and the wholesale prices of the eggs, which was a biggest issue before the elections. They dropped by 53% since Inauguration Day. A small but a symbolic win for the consumers who were feeling the pinch. Trump's energy push with the new drilling permits and the pipeline expansion has ramped up U.S. oil and gas production, which has definitely lowered the global prices. On immigration, Trump's promise to secure the border saw illegal crossing hit historic lows, with zero releases into the U.S. interior for the last 2 months. Border wall construction resumed and the deportations of the undocumented immigrants, including violent offenders, have surged. Now, it sounds like a lot that the promise has been kept, right? But not everyone is cheering. Now, let's look at the controversies and the pushback. Trump's aggressive use of executive power, signing 176 executive orders so far, has sparked legal challenges and accusations of overreach. Now, orders banning DEI programs, ending federal censorship, and restricting transgender health care have polarized the nation. Critics say that these moves are aligned with the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025. They erode civil rights and federal protections, but over 70% of Project 2025 goals are reportedly in motion, reshaping agencies like FEMA and USAID, with cuts impacting disaster relief and global health programs. In trade war, which is fueled by $90 billion in new tariffs, it has been a double-edged sword. While the Treasury posted a $27.2 billion surplus in June, grocery prices have rose 2.41% year over year, and the market volatility spooked investors early on. Now, Democrats argue that Trump's tax cuts, they have been favoring the wealthy and ballooned the national debt by $3 trillion. And then there's Jeffrey Epstein. Trump's base has erupted over his administration handling the Epstein-related documents, with some calling for transparency. Now, Trump has dismissed this controversy, calling it a fabricated and fake news. That's what he calls it. But this has created real fractures in his MAGA supporters. So, what are voters thinking? What is House base thinking? What is the temperature at White House? Well, joining us now live from Washington, D.C. is Richard Leiby, who is a veteran of Washington Post and also a freelance journalist these days. Well, welcome to the show, Richard.
Nice to be here again. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Richard. Let's get straight to the business. I mean, it's a short time, and we have long things to discuss. But we have seen a lot in the past 6 months. We have seen ICE being introduced. We have seen Dodge being introduced. We have seen Dodge being revoked. We have seen Elon Musk coming in. We have seen a lot of people who were once allies, they turned into foes, and a lot of countries who were once allies and they turned into foes, and a lot of foes who were foes and now they have turned into allies. How would you summarize this whole synopsis?
I think that one thing I've learned about Donald Trump, being in Washington, of course, for his first term, is that he can be consistently inconsistent. With Donald Trump, the important thing is that he keeps the show going. I still consider him mainly a showman, but he is consistent about some things. We know from the day he announced his candidacy to run the first time that he was going to target immigrants. There's no question about that. He's called Mexicans rapists. He called immigrants being released from insane asylums and criminals. And here we are. He's given orders to basically round up immigrants, legal immigrants, and prosecute them without due process for crimes. They have no way to explain what these crimes might have been and whether they're innocent or guilty. That's one area. The other area is he felt very cheated by the world leaders and the countries that led to a large trade deficit for the United States. So he vowed that he would bring back billions and billions of dollars to the United States, and of course, these tariffs being announced. But then again, the tariffs are inconsistent. Sometimes they stick, sometimes they don't. The most recent one with the EU, again, he's a salesman. He sold a particular approach, and Europe had to take what they say half a loaf. They didn't get no tariffs. They got 15%. Trump was looking for 30. So he once wrote a book called The Art of the Deal, and that's what the deal is about. Those are two areas I think are very important. As far as reducing the size of the federal government, he has done that. The government is leaner. A lot of people were told to basically pack up their desks and get out by the end of the day. The courts are pushing back on that, but I'd say Elon Musk aside, he's winning that game right now. But don't let me try to pack everything into a 5-minute conversation. Please ask me other questions.
I'm going to ask you a lot of other questions about that too. But you know, one thing which I have asked every single journalist in the United States, and there have been many journalists who are constantly coming on our show, and ever since this administration is in, the one thing I love about every journalist in the United States that they're completely clueless of what Donald Trump would do in the coming few weeks or in coming few hours. I mean, he's totally unpredictable. We just saw that we saw for months there was a campaign of government not spending anymore. They're trying to restrict the spending. They were trying to cut down the expenses. And then one day suddenly we hear about this one big beautiful bill, which resulted in a feud between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. There's a lot of inconsistency. You're right about that. That there's inconsistency in Donald Trump, and that's what he's consistent about. But not apart from the domestic front in the United States, on the international front, he has imposed tariffs on every single country in the world. That's unique. That's unique. We have never witnessed anything like that ever in the history of the world before. I mean, especially after the colonialism has ended. Why do you think that he came up with such an aggressive strategy, not just with any single country, but to the rest of the world?
He's never been a globalist. He dwells in his mind and in politics with his base in the United States. He now doesn't and can't run for a third term. He's not beholden to anyone. He can do whatever he wants. And he's got no voters to answer to. And he is a man who has always held grudges, has always believed in retribution. I equate Trump to a live nerve ending that he sometimes gets sparked and becomes just quite angry. I've never been in the room with him, but this is on evidence of everything we see. And I'm no economic or tariff or tax expert. But I think he wants, when he can say, I'm bringing more money to the United States, that makes for a good sell job. And it also pleases him because he likes money in whatever form it can come in.
He talks money. He loves business. And importantly, he has been talking about that the economic growth is explosive in the United States. That's exactly quote unquote explosive. What do economists in the United States say about his claims?
Well, what I hear most is they're cautious. Because these things can blow up and have unintended consequences. I have long believed that the attempt to save government money by cutting all these departments and doing whatever they do will cost more, actually, in litigation, in lost efficiencies, because there's no people to do the jobs. And lawsuits, however you look at it, there's going to be great consequences in the Republic, in our country. And I just don't think they think things out very well. They just react to what the president says. I want this, I want that, I want this. I think that's how a lot of presidents have governed, but I think they're smarter in terms of the consequences.
Well, that's one way of, treating the economists, giving them so much that they're unable to process. That's a lot of data to process, actually. But he has been claiming about the government overhauls. As somebody who is in Washington, just few steps away from the White House, what do you think has actually he achieved of his claims of government overhaul?
Well, I would go back to one of the presidents, Ronald Reagan, who um, insisted over and over again as a conservative Republican that he would, save money for the government, uh, you know, for the country. He left office with so much more debt. Why? Because he was completely incalcitrant in terms of funding the military. The military now still gets, I can't even remember the figure, but like 90% of the budget. And Trump's not going to cut the military budget because, again, his base would be disturbed by that. Reagan ended up with some good policies and some bad ones and some scandals, as every president does. But this president, I've covered 4 administrations. There's nothing like it. Nothing like the degree to which he's upset Washington. The latest scandal with the pedophile Epstein, and whether Trump was on a list or did he fly to what they call Pedo Island, which was Epstein's private island where he had girls. Don't know how that's going to work out. Okay, maybe that's not something you want to discuss in any detail, but he's being pounded even by his own supporters on this issue, and it's a big distraction for him.
Yeah, this is definitely the pressure which his government has personally built up on themselves, because in February, partially the files were given to the influencers and the YouTubers, and ever since we are seeing that the pressure is building up and the pressure is mounting up. But apart from that, 6 months have gone. There are the next 6 months coming ahead. What do you think he's going to achieve in them?
I don't think he's going to soften his approach. I think he's bent on retribution, and he's still sort of litigating the last election, wanting to try to get Obama investigated, and of course Joe Biden investigated. And he put out a little ad the other day on his website showing him as a bulked up avenger. Said the hunted is now the hunter. So what are we going to see politically in the next few months? More of the same. What are we going to see economically? Let's let the dust settle a little bit on the whole tariffs question. He set deadlines on some, and that is a important part of his strategy. Pressure tactics. Internationally, he's pressed first on Zelensky and the Ukrainians, and browbeat Zelensky publicly in the White House, which was unheard of. And now he's pushing on Putin to he wants to speed up the deadline for Putin to make concessions from 50 days down to I don't know how many days, maybe 20 or 30. I would hate to work in the White House. You walk in one day, you don't know what's going to come down the line. At the end of the day, everything may have changed. And how does that affect the electorate? I don't know.
Well, last question. Initially, it was speculated, not just in the United States, but the people who have been observing the U.S. politics outside the United States, they were of the opinion that this steam which Donald Trump is having right now, he's steaming in towards everything. The steam is eventually going to blow off, and it will take him 2 or 3 months to settle. We are 6 months down, and Donald Trump is still the raging bull he was on the first day. Do you think that he's going to tone down a little bit, and just like you said, the dust's going to settle? Do you think?
Well, there's another way of looking at that, which is that eventually every storm runs out of rain. it's a lot of energy he puts into these various issues. He didn't sort of learn anything in his first term, so I think some of your analysts are actually right. Would not believe he would so often or take this opportunity. I have to agree that I think it'll get worse. I think that he's now a Trump unbound. He doesn't have any strictures, unless say he's indicted in this Epstein case or something, which probably won't happen. And he feels empowered more than ever. I could be wrong. I mean, I'm a journalist. I might have a 50-50 chance of being right.
Thank you so much, Mr. Libby. It's an absolute honor and pleasure to have you. Honestly, it's amazing. It's always amazing to have you over here because you're quite insightful about the happenings of the White House, and that's what really matters in this show. Thank you so much. Time for goodbye, ladies and gentlemen. Keep watching Ocean News.